Lesson 242. What is evil? The truths about its origin and how to conquer it. What is evil? Humanity has wrestled with this question since the beginning of time. Is evil something God created, or does its origin lie elsewhere? Let's explore its source, its impact on our lives, and how we can overcome it by embracing God's character. There are two things that you need to understand. There is evil and there is God's wrath. Evil is what the human beings are capable of by going out of God's given character and do what is in their own desires. Because when you stay in God's likeness, you have no ability to do what is bad to others or to yourself. Evil just lose interest in you. But what does this mean? When people choose to do evil, they are following the character of their father, which is the devil. It is he who is the source of evil when he allowed pride to take place in him and wanted to become above God. He is the perfect representation of a life without God or a life separate from God. The same choice is within us, and when you choose to disobey God, you make a decision to choose evil and not good. Now, the internal struggle of evil will speak louder than rational pursuit of good. It is a tug of war between the flesh and the spirit, because it was the flesh that was tempted and the flesh that was cursed. This body represents death because it always has the desire to disobey God, as the body is never content. The lust of the eyes, the greed of soul, jealousy, anger, anxiety and worries represents everything of what the body is going through. The more you give this body the power, the stronger it takes over. We see the pull of the flesh in our daily lives through temptations to compare ourselves on social media, pursue selfish desires, or act out of anger. These struggles are real but can be overcome. While the body has been subjected to death in the end, you must be willing to kill it every day in order to save yourself from destruction. This is when you purposefully deny yourself to do the things that dishonors God. It is to be sober-minded, guarding your heart so that you do not allow the things that will cause you to stumble on your commitment in following God. When you choose between paths on your journey, you must subject your body to obey God by following the character that is within him. For he said from the beginning, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our own likeness." Genesis 1:26. Everything that you need is within you. Feed it with the fruits of spirit, that is love, joy, peace, kindness, patience, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Galatians 5:22. For these fruits to produce within you, you must take a step and make that decision for yourself to learn from God through his word. Ask him for help and reflect your day-to-day life if you are living a life pleasing to God. If you confuse the true nature of evil with the world's perspective, you may never fully experience true freedom or the peace that surpasses understanding. Evil is when you agree with Satan to commit sin. You become the judge, deciding to go your own way. You might argue the fact that, in the Bible, God did the same when he wiped out nations and sent the Israelites to slavery and mistaken them to be acts of evil. Now you need to be careful not to mistake God's wrath with evil. God's wrath can be defined as God's punishment or the state where God's presence is absent. For he says, God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. James 1:13. The state of the world today is only a taste of it, as he is still among us today, because goodness exists. You have not tasted yet how it feels like when he separates himself from you, where there will be no more goodness. No one has ever even comprehended how that day looks like, or how will it be. When it comes to choose what is right, following good and rejecting evil, it is when wisdom exists. Where there is wisdom, there must be patience and consistency throughout your journey in life. This is inevitable because the process of choosing what is right has to happen every single time, day by day. The motivation to become better must come from the point of view that you can never find peace when you choose to dwell into sin. Even though at the time you might think it is a rational decision, but it will never satisfy you. Just think about it. Deep down in each one of us, no matter how much you gain in the whole world, there will still be that hunger that you know something is missing. You must remember there is nothing in this world that can satisfy you. Our bodies yearn for eternity. Ask yourself, were you just born only for the reason that you can die in the end? Absolutely not. But for most people, this concept of eternity seems miles apart from them, not because it is real, but because they have become so accustomed into the worldview that limits their ability to think freely. This is not something you need anyone to tell you about it. It is something that is truly belonging to you. There is a place where evil will never exist, where there will be no shame and no more pain, where God will wipe the tears from everyone's eye and welcome us into his eternal dwelling, where the sorrows that you feel now and the hunger for justice will never exist anymore, and your hearts will be fulfilled. But knowing all these things, where will you put your stand on? Evil is a choice to live apart from God, but the good news is that we don't have to face it alone. Jesus Christ is the answer and cure for evil. Through him, we can experience peace that surpasses understanding and the promise of eternal life. The question remains, will you choose to follow the cornerstone and walk in freedom,